Ladies, gentlemen, boys, and girls, we're going to talk about beating yourself up and how to reduce that or stop it altogether. And this is something that I used to struggle with a lot. You absolutely used to struggle with beating yourself up and being very hard on yourself.
And it's something that I still do a little bit now, but I am definitely working on it.
Yeah, and it's something that a lot of my coaching clients experience and a lot of you listening experience. So, you, Emmy, haven't been here for this series before, have you? Where I ask ChatGPT or I ask an AI for advice. You haven't done one of these, have you?
I don't think so.
Okay, so I've covered a lot of topics on my channel. So for any of you who have questions, lots of the time you guys will ask me a question. It's like I've already covered that topic. So first port of call is always search my videos and search my Spotify. But then sometimes, it's like Andy hasn't covered this and I don't know where to turn. You can turn to ChatGPT. And I will say 75% of the time, I'm pretty happy with the advice that it gives.
That's pretty good.
And so I have fun sometimes. I've done like 5 of these videos where I go through, I ask ChatGPT the question,
Mm.
I respond to the answers that it's given, and I say whether I agree with it, whether I would change something, whether I'd add something on top. So this is the prompt that I used. Hey ChatGPT, I'm doing a YouTube video that'll be fun and entertaining, hopefully. The title is this: How to Stop Beating Yourself Up According to an AI. You're the AI I'm referring to. I like to tell ChatGPT like so it knows its place.
Yeah, so it can be self-aware.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
So give me your best advice. I'm going to do a video on it, basically rating how good I think the advice is, adding my own, etc.
Mm.
ChatGPT says it's important to practice self-compassion and learn to stop beating yourself up. Don't then beat yourself up if you're not practicing self-compassion. It's okay. Most people don't, but it's something you can work on. Here's some strategies to help you in this process. You want to read number one?
Is recognize self-criticism. Become aware of your self-critical thoughts and negative self-talk. Notice when you're being hard on yourself and acknowledge that it's not productive or helpful.
Yeah, and I want to go a little deeper on this
Mm.
because I kind of somewhat question this bit here. I kind of disagree with this where they say like it's not productive or helpful. No, like beating yourself up and being very hard on yourself and being very judgmental can serve a purpose. It can be
Mm.
motivating. It's just that it's not always very sustainable. It gets very tiring being really hard on yourself and beating yourself up. You eventually have a breakdown or you have burnout or you go, fuck, man, I can't keep doing this. This is a lot of work. This is a lot of suffering.
Mm.
I feel like I have to yell at myself every day just to get myself to work on my goals. I can't imagine doing this for the rest of my life. Well, every day I'm going to have to wake up and yell at myself. Sometimes I'm tired. I don't want to. So, yelling at yourself and being hard on yourself can work. That's why people do it. So,
Mm.
if you've been hard on yourself, if you've had a lot of negative self talk, or you've been very judgmental, or you have negative thoughts in your head, understand that that's not bad. It's just the current tool that you're using to motivate yourself. But there's something higher than that, which is being kind to yourself, letting other people help you, giving yourself a positive pep talk. And so instead of being very hard on yourself, have higher expectations for yourself. So instead of saying, I'm a piece of shit, I'm never going to do this, what the fuck is wrong with me? You say, no, I'm better than this. I can do more than this. I know I'm capable of more than this. Come on, I'm going to do more than this. So you're pushing yourself still, but in a positive way.
Yeah, and I think it's also worth acknowledging like the merits to this point that
Mm.
the first step is recognition because a lot of the time we can have a lot of these subconscious beliefs or these thoughts kind of bouncing around in our head or these very like knee-jerk immediate reactions to situations where there's the sense of like I'm not good enough when you're beating yourself up and you might not even notice that you're doing
Yeah,
it
lots of the time you don't know you're hard on
and
yourself, yeah.
maybe something has happened and you go the whole day like
Mm.
feeling like shit and you might know why until you start practicing like recognizing when those specific thoughts are coming up. And obviously, like you said, yes, it can be a helpful tool, but there is also the point at which it can backfire. Because if you go around telling yourself, I'm not good enough, I'm doing a bad job, I'm doing a bad job, I'm doing a bad job, that can definitely become a self-fulfilling
Oh,
prophecy.
absolutely, yes.
And it can, I think I remember, and take this with a grain of salt because I feel like I heard this somewhere a long time ago, but there was like a study done in which kids were praised versus
Yes.
punished for the way that they performed in school, and the kids that were praised were did far 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 better
Yes.
than the ones that were punished. If anything, um, I believe the results of the kids that were punished or like given critical feedback, they then performed worse over time, and that their performance decreased because of the low self-esteem and having
Correct.
the belief that I'm not doing a good job.
Correct. Yeah. What you're talking about is something called operant conditioning. Let me write it here so any of you, if you want to go Google that, it's called operant conditioning. It's a psychology term. Therapists know about it. Psychiatrists and psychologists know about it. So you're basically talking about the difference between praising and punishment. And punishment can get you very short-term results. Like if I put a gun to any of your heads and say, go outside and talk to women or start your business, you'll probably do it because you don't want to fucking die.
Mm.
Or if I punch you in the face and say, I'm not going to stop punching you in the face until you go outside and talk to a woman, you will go outside and talk to a woman. Like the vast majority of you, even if you're terrified, no matter what your biggest fear is, if I'm punching you in the fucking face, you want to alleviate that suffering. You want that to stop. So you will go do what I want.
Mm.
That's why people using force, like governments and police and sometimes parents force their children, people in relationships force people, force like making someone do what you want through force or threats of violence. It's effective short term. It's very effective. Long term, however, it's not very effective because, like you said, your self esteem lowers. And at some point, you start to think, maybe I am a person who deserves to get punched in the face. Maybe I don't deserve any more than this. Maybe I'm a piece of shit and that's why people treat me like shit. Or that's why I treat myself like shit. And so, long term, you slip into apathy or demotivation or depression and sometimes even suicide. You want to escape the painful self talk that you're doing on yourself. And so, what a lot of people do is they will self medicate and you'll say, man, my brain is a scary place. My head is a dangerous place because I'm so hard on myself. Rather than learning to be kind to myself, I think I'll just take the easier option and play a lot of video games, drink a lot of alcohol, take some drugs, get into hardcore sex, like do all of that kind of stuff and throw myself into that. So yeah, operant conditioning is the word that describes that whole field of psychology. But generally speaking, the kinder you are to yourself or the kinder you are to other people, the more long-term successful you are. That might not pay off immediately. Like being kind and loving to yourself might not make you go outside and talk to 5 women right this second, but like the tortoise and the hare, over the long term, you will end up doing more approaches or being more successful in your business because it'll be more sustainable. You don't have burnout, you don't have a breakdown, you don't take months and months and months off. This is why we talk about baby steps, because we want it to be fun for you so it's sustainable.
And I think often there's the fear of like, if I'm kind to myself, I'll just keep not getting anything done.
Yeah,
Like, if I keep telling myself I'm doing a good job and it's okay and you're giving yourself love, that you'll continue to sit on the couch and not take action. And that
that's
the,
the fear. Yeah,
yeah, that the only way that you're going to take action is by yelling at yourself and telling yourself you're a piece of shit. Funnily enough, and from my experience, I've had that same fear, but actually putting this stuff into practice, when I am loving to myself, often the answer to a lot of my questions to myself is like, what is the most loving thing for me right now? And it's not to stay in bed all day and cancel my social obligations. It's actually to go outside and make my bed and get dressed up and eat well and exercise for the day. Often when you actually tune into that place of love, your higher self does know what is best for you and what is the most loving thing for you. And you might be surprised that what is often the most loving thing for you is not lying in bed all day.
yeah, for sure. Yeah, yeah. Let love guide you. Let excitement guide you. Let joy guide you rather than beating yourself up. But again, to be really clear, we're probably going to say this a lot in this video. If you currently have very self-critical or negative thoughts, you don't have to beat yourself up for beating yourself up. It's okay if you have negative thoughts. Welcome to humanity. Most people do. That's okay. All we're doing here is working on having a little bit more positive thoughts or being a little bit more of a best friend to yourself, being a little bit kinder to yourself over time. You don't have to be perfect with this. All right, the second one that ChatGPT gave is to challenge your negative thoughts. So you can challenge your negative thoughts and replace them with more realistic or positive ones. Ask yourself if there is evidence to support your self-criticism or if there might be alternate explanations for the situation. This is called cognitive behavior therapy. You might also call it questioning your thoughts or investigating your thoughts. I talked a lot about this in my Play to Win video course. You can go to playtowinmindset.com. I also have a link to it in every single video in the description. In this video course, I talked a lot about how to question your thoughts and basically say, is that true? How to rewrite your thoughts and make them a little bit more positive. So I have a ton of techniques in that video course. But yeah, it's basically just It's a habit, it's a practice that you get better at over time. And it's not that you have to get rid of your negative thought or be like, that's not true. Why do I have that negative thought? For every negative thought that you have, just try saying a positive one. And you don't even have to believe the positive one. In fact, at the start, you won't. Most people think they're being realistic, but really they're being negative. But you will believe your negative thoughts and you'll think you're being realistic. You'll go, no, I'm a realist. It's not, the world isn't sunshine and rainbows, Andy. Like, I'm being realistic. And so you might not even believe your positive thoughts, but you try saying a positive thought for every negative one. And then at least we're being men and women of science and logic. We're being a bit more balanced. We're saying, here's one side of the coin, here's the other side. And you come to see eventually, when you practice this enough, that there are multiple different ways of looking at every single situation. In the Play to Win video course that I just talked about, there's a chapter called Everything is a Story, and you're in control of the story that you tell. You can tell a story that this event sucks, or this person's mean to me, or this isn't fair. You can tell a negative story, or you can tell a negative story about yourself. Or you can look at that same event and reframe it and tell a positive story. It's entirely up to you. Tell whatever stories that you want. But a more positive story that you tell, the happier your life, the more effective your life is, the more successful you are.
And something that's helped me when I've felt very stuck on particular thoughts or beliefs is when we've spoken, you, Andy, saying, can you even see like 1% truth in that? Could you see a world in which there's truth in that, or that's possible? That's even,
Yeah,
even
you're
the
talking about your
tiniest bit.
positive thought. When you say a positive thought, but your brain goes, I don't believe that. Yeah.
Correct. It's finding the tiniest bit of truth in it. And maybe you don't believe it, and you can even acknowledge that you don't believe it, but then saying, but there is a world in which maybe there's like 1% truth in that,
Yeah.
2% truth in that, just a tiniest little bit to start breaking down some of the more negative beliefs that you might have. And number 3, practice self-compassion. Treat yourself with kindness and understanding, just as you would a friend. Offer yourself words of encouragement and support. Practice self-compassion by acknowledging that everyone makes mistakes and that it's part of being human.
I've
And
got so much to say to this. You go first.
yeah, I think, my very first psychologist when I was like 11 years old or something, one of the first things that they come up with is like, what would you say to a friend in this position? And the amount of times I've heard it from different psychologists or even us talking to each other over the years, it makes me want to roll my eyes because it's like, yeah, fuck it. Like I've heard that before, but it is really effective. And even though I'm like, "Ugh, yes, I wouldn't say that to my friend, when you really start, you take a moment to pause and internalize that and actually visualize what it would be like if a friend came to you saying the same things that you were saying to yourself, you realize how unkind you're being to yourself. And so it is a really good checking question. It's even something that we, like you and I, Andy, will use with each other. I often say, what would you say to your clients right now?
Yeah, you do. Yeah.
Because it really helps you jump out of the like, I'm special, I need to be harder on myself, I should be doing better than other people, and being like, oh no, this isn't kind. I should be treating myself as if I were my own friend.
Yeah, I say that to so many of my coaching clients. I say, what would you say to your best friend right now? And they're like, oh, fuck, man. Okay. I'd probably say to my best friend, you're doing a great job. Everything's okay. Just hang in there and keep going. And then I say, would you like to try saying that to yourself? And they're like, oh, but like, I want to beat myself up. And I'm like, that's okay. It's okay to beat yourself up. But would you like to try being a best friend to yourself? And then they try saying the same thing that they'd say to their best friend, but to themselves. And then they go, oh, okay. Maybe I'm not special. Maybe I don't have to beat myself up and treat myself more like shit than I would for anyone else. Maybe I'm really not that special. And it is that sort of narcissistic ego part of ourselves that wants to think that we're special and we're worthy of being beaten up more than anyone else. But we're not. We're exactly like our fellow men and women of the world. So whatever you would say to your best friend, say that to yourself. This part here, everyone makes mistakes. Yeah, I have so much to say about this. First of all, there are no mistakes. You were doing the best that you could at the time with the information that you had at the time. There are no mistakes. Men and women, all of us are just trying to do the best that we can in that moment. We don't always have all of the answers. We are sometimes missing key information. Sometimes we are emotional. Sometimes we didn't get enough sleep. Sometimes we get caught up in feeling like we need something, or we get angry that we're not currently getting what we want. We become very emotional. Under those circumstances, you're probably not going to make the most rational decision of all time. You're trying your best. And so realizing all of the extra context, I was emotional, I was tired, I was believing my own negative thoughts, I was just lashing out because I was hurt and I didn't want someone else to hurt me. All of that, understanding that context can help you be a little bit kinder to yourself, because you'd be kind to your best friend. You'd be like, oh, bro, you're tired right now. It's okay, man. You're not always going to be perfect. You would allow space for your best friend to be human. So allow that same space for yourself to be human. You're a human with emotions, doubts, insecurities. Sometimes you don't sleep very well. All of that shit. You're doing your best. You're trying to be a good person. Everybody is trying to be a good person. Even fucking Hitler thought that he was being a good person. Literally, he literally thought God was on his side. He talked about it in Mein Kampf. Literally, everyone thinks that they're being a good person. They're trying their best. You're doing your best. Be kind to yourself as best as you can. And if you struggle with that, that's okay too.
100%.
Anything else to add to that one?
No, I feel like you summed it up very well.
Yeah, maybe I'll say one more thing. There are no mistakes, there are learning lessons. And if you can see the world and see your own behavior and your own actions as a learning lesson, as a stepping stone towards your better self or your higher self, then you can be a little kinder to yourself. You know, you weren't intentionally fucking up or failing. You were learning. You were trying something. You tried something because you thought it would work out, and then it didn't. You didn't try and make a mistake. Nobody intentionally tries to make a mistake.
And I think like feeding off the idea of like there are no mistakes. Sometimes you never know if something was actually the best thing that could have ever happened to you. Something that I've heard our spiritual coach mention a few times is like, if, for example, you apply for a job and you don't get it, but then 2 weeks later you apply for a different job and it's even
And
better
it's
than the
better.
first one.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Does that, like, at first, before you've applied for the second job, you might think, oh, like, it was a mistake applying, I've wasted my time, or
Yeah, we're so quick to judge events, aren't we? We're
yeah.
like, this sucks. And it's like, bro, wait a fucking week or two until the dust settles. You don't even know if it sucks yet. You're just saying it sucks. It's like, chill. It might be the best thing that ever happened.
And even things that you might call mistakes, especially maybe if they're big ones, you might have this big learning lesson and be like,
Yeah.
okay, like that's something I can recognize in the future and not walk down that same path. And maybe you would have made bigger mistakes further down the track if you didn't have that first learning lesson. So it I like the idea, and I'm not perfect at recognizing this myself sometimes, but there aren't mistakes and everything
100%.
can be a positive thing.
Yeah, if you learn to look for it, it's like every failure is an opportunity to grow. You know, every bit of suffering is an opportunity to let go of an attachment and be a little more free of it. In the Play to Win video course, I have this chapter called Everything That Happens to Me is Good. And I literally talk about what we're talking about here, how there's no mistakes. You know, you can see everything as a learning lesson, as a chance to improve. You know, I talk about all of that in here. You know, rather than saying the universe or the world or other people are fucking with me or punishing me, it's like, no, this is a challenge. It's something I can work on and overcome. Maybe this is going to improve my stoicism. You know, I even talk about that here. You know, anytime I'm tempted to say this sucks or it's not fair or this is pissing me off, it's like, no, this is a chance to practice my stoicism. This is a chance to practice letting go. You know, Grant Cardone has a great saying, like I said before, every problem is an opportunity in disguise. If you're willing to look for the silver lining. If you're not willing, then yeah, it's very easy, and most people do. It's very easy to say, this sucks, it's not fair, you know, it's awful. It's like, fine, great. That's your opinion, man. How's that working out for you? And yeah, being negative doesn't generally add to your life. But it's okay if you're negative, lots of people are.
And number 4 is focus on self-care. Prioritize self-care activities that nourish your mind, body, and spirit. Engage in activities that bring you joy, relaxation, and fulfillment. Taking care of yourself helps to foster a positive mindset. Yeah, 100%. I feel like this one is actually something that I remind you, Andy, of a lot, because often you will put a lot of pressure on yourself to do a lot of work, get a lot of stuff done each day on the business in regards to coaching, in regards to like creating content in this YouTube channel. And some days you come to me and you say, I'm very tired. I don't feel like doing anything today, and I have a lot of guilt around it. And often we have these conversations around maybe the most productive thing that you can do for yourself today, and it is genuinely productive, is look after yourself and do stuff that feels restorative and brings you energy or feels relaxing. Because if you keep pushing at 100% day after day after day after day, you spoke about it in a
You
previous
have
point.
a burnout.
Yeah. And then you don't want to do stuff anymore.
Yeah,
And then
you take like 6 months off and you're like, why am I not productive? Why is it really hard to get back on the horse?
versus having like 1-2 days off a week and then feeling productive and energized for the rest of the week because you are looking after yourself along the way.
Yeah, there's something that in my coaching program, people You get a whole bunch of videos that you watch as part of the coaching program to like hold your hand through the program. And one of them is about taking one day off a week. Like we literally have to coach people and say, take one day off a week. Nothing bad's going to happen. In fact, you'll be more productive. You will get more done. You will achieve 10 times more. You'll be 10 times happier and you won't burn out. Well, the risk of burnout is way lower. We had one of the guys in the coaching group recently, like 3 weeks ago. He was feeling really burnt out and he was like, fuck guys, like I think I might start burning out soon. And I was like, okay, bro, would you like to take a couple of days off? And he kind of resisted a little bit and he was like, oh, but like then I wouldn't be productive. I wouldn't be making the most of the coaching program. And I was like, yeah, but then you'd be happy. Aren't you doing the coaching program to be happy? Aren't you trying to achieve these goals to be happy? And he thought about it and he's like, yeah, you're right. So we had a couple of days off. There's two guys this week who've literally had this week off, like this entire week off. They're not doing anything. They're not coming to the coaching calls. They're not doing anything. One of them spending time with his sister. The other one is spending time, I think, with friends and doing a little bit of work, but he's not hardcore using the coaching program. Fucking brilliant. I've had people take 3 weeks off from coaching to spend time with their family. Amazing. You know, sometimes the most productive thing that you can do is to be a best friend to yourself and chill. I like to call it recharging your batteries so that you'll be more energized when you come back and start taking more action.
And what often happens, and we find this a lot as well, is that if you do say, I can't take a break, usually you do end up doing the same activities. Like you procrastinate, you might watch TV or sit on social media or on your phone, whatever
Yeah,
it
you
might
fuck
be.
around so much when you say
Yeah.
like, I have to be productive. And then it's like you lay on the couch for 3 hours yelling at yourself.
Yeah. And the whole time you're not even enjoying
Yeah.
your procrastination because you're saying, I shouldn't be doing this, I can't do this. But when you just take that breath and let go and give yourself permission to genuinely have that time off, that's when it's actually helpful.
Restorative. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then you get more done. I like this next one a lot. Celebrate achievements. Celebrate your accomplishments. Ready? Everybody listening, no matter how small they seem. What do we talk about on this channel all the time? Baby steps and celebrating your small wins. Celebrate every tiny little baby step that you take, no matter how seemingly pathetic it is. It's not pathetic, but you might think that it is. Acknowledge your efforts and give yourself credit for the progress you've made. Celebrating achievements boosts your self confidence and your self worth, and on top of that, gives you momentum. If you're taking a baby step every day or a few baby steps and then celebrating those and being grateful for those, then you achieve 10,000 times more because you have momentum. So many people set the bar so fucking high and they say, nothing is going to count unless I literally have sex or I literally make $1,000 this week. Nothing below that counts at all. And then you don't match up to that or you don't achieve that. And then you go, I'm not good enough. This isn't good enough. I've had a bad week. And it's like, no, 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 no. You got to humble yourself. And it is humility that we're talking about. Humble yourself enough to say, you know what? Maybe I didn't change the world this week. Maybe I didn't suddenly fix myself all at once, but I took some baby steps and that's what matters. That's what counts.
100%. Yeah. And it's something that we put into practice a lot as well. We each week, when we do our weekly check in, so we always have Mondays off together, we will check in and we'll acknowledge the things that were great about the week,
Yep.
whether that's things that we're grateful for or things that we're very happy that we got done. It's giving ourselves some of that recognition. And it is definitely a practice.
Yeah.
Like at first, it feels very uncomfortable.
It feels meaningless as well to celebrate such small victories. You're like, oh, but I didn't even do anything today. Like so many people say to me, I didn't do anything today. And I'm like, tell me what you did. Then they'll tell me 10 things they did, but they're like, those things don't count. They're too small.
But yeah, I think the more that you put it into practice, you start just recognizing it in everything, like
Yeah.
everything that is a win. And I think actually this one ties in really well to the idea of treating yourself as a friend too, because I think it's also very easy, even if they are pretty significant, like objectively significant wins. If you are somebody that tends to be quite self-critical, there can be the
You won't count it,
temptation,
yeah.
to be like, oh, that doesn't count. There's a reason that's that doesn't count. But then on the flip side, you can always find reasons why things weren't good enough and you need to
Yeah.
be doing better. So often, like if you could imagine that a friend is coming to you sharing like, oh, I'm really happy that I got this thing done.
You wouldn't be like, bro, that doesn't count. That's pathetic. That's not good enough, bro. Like, what are you even sharing that with me for?
So yeah, it can be well helpful to put it into perspective in that way as well.
Yeah, I talk about this a lot in the Play to Win video course. In this chapter, there's a chapter called Self-Reflection, Mindfulness, and Gratitude, How to Not Move the Goalposts. And I have a whole list of like exercises of how to celebrate your little wins and how to enjoy the damn process. So again, all of that is in the Play to Win video course. Something else that we do a lot in the coaching program is every single coaching call, we go around the room, like go get everyone to speak, and we say, what was your biggest win for this week? Like, what did you achieve, even if it's something really small? In the coaching group, like we have a Facebook group as part of the coaching group. Every single day, we get people to just say what their success or their win was for that day. And sometimes it's really small stuff. It's like, I went outside and I went for a walk for 10 minutes. Great. You could have not done that, but you chose to do something more than nothing. I say this on this channel a lot. Anything you do that's greater than zero, we're going to celebrate the shit out of that. You'll see that in comments sometimes. I'll tell you guys and girls to celebrate your wins or share your wins. And people will be like, I know it doesn't count. It's pathetic. But like, I recently started going to the gym and I've been 3 times. And it's like, that's not pathetic. That's amazing. So, any of you listening, why don't you pause the video right now if you want to? Leave a comment and celebrate a recent win that you had. Just anything, even if it's the smallest thing and you don't feel like you deserve credit for it, post it and we will all give you credit. I promise. But celebrate those wins and then you have momentum and you don't feel like you're starting from nothing.
Number 6, learn from mistakes. Instead of dwelling on mistakes, view them as opportunities for growth and learning. Analyze a situation objectively, identify what you can learn from it, and use that knowledge to improve moving forward. Which is exactly what we were saying before. There are no mistakes.
Yeah.
Everything is an opportunity. And when you do view it as such, you just feel a lot better. I think there's a temptation to say that's delusional or like you're being ridiculous, but at least the delusional person's happy. Even if you're going to be that cynical and to even say that it is delusional, why not be delusional and happy than correct or cynical and unhappy?
Yeah, again, so many people will say, I'm being realistic. I'm being, they're being incredibly negative and cynical. They have such a jaded worldview or a view of themselves, and will often say like, "Oh, I'm being realistic," and it's like, no, you're being negative. As I talked about, again, I'm going to bring it up on the screen. This chapter in my Play to Win video course, it's called Everything is a Story, and you're in control of the stories that you tell. I talk about how it's all just stories that we're making up. You can tell a story that this event sucks or it's awful or I'm a bad person. You could then tell tell a different story about that same event and say, you know what? This is an opportunity. I'm a good person. I'm doing my best. Those are both just stories. Like one isn't correct and the other one's wrong. They're literally just some what's called mentation, which is when your mind is just thinking. It's just some bullshit that your brain made up. It's not that one is right and one is wrong, but we will point to one and say, my view of the world is correct and your view is wrong. My view of this situation is correct and you're just being too unrealistic. And it's like, no, we're both making bullshit up. If we're going to make some bullshit up, why don't we make up the bullshit that serves us? Why don't we tell a positive story about this situation? Why don't we say, you know what? I can learn from this. I can improve. Why on earth would you tell a hopeless story? I know why you would tell a hopeless story, because it keeps you safe. It keeps you from having to really try. It keeps you in your sort of comfort zone. So there's a reason. Understand if you're listening and you're like, holy crap, I identify with a lot of this. I'm very negative. It's like that negativity is serving a purpose. It's keeping you safe. It means you don't have to go out and risk rejection and try and improve yourself and let go of your comfort that you have right now. So the negativity isn't, you're not irrational for being negative. It's serving a purpose. You and I talk about this all the time. So you're not an irrational idiot who's negative. No, it's serving a purpose. What you're asking yourself is, would I like to try being a tiny bit more positive? You don't have to suddenly just become a positive person. Do I want to try being slightly more positive and see how that feels? Do I want to read some Stoicism books? Do I want to buy Andy's Play to Win video course? You can pay whatever you want for that. Pay $1 if you want to. Do I want to read some Byron Katie and some David Hawkins and Mother Teresa and all these people who talk about letting go of negativity, being a little bit more positive? There's a book called You Can't Afford the Luxury of a Negative Thought. That's a great book to start with. But yeah, you're taking some baby steps and trying positivity and then see how it works out for you. Literally just try it out. You can try it out today. Go outside, walk around all day and spend the entire day telling negative stories in your head. Like literally intentionally try to be negative about yourself, about everyone you walk past. Try and be judgmental. Maybe don't say it to the people, but have judgmental negative thoughts. Like if you see someone who's a little bit overweight, be like, look at that fat, useless piece of shit loser. Like have very fucking negative thoughts. Maybe I'd say, please don't say them to people, but have those thoughts about yourself and about other people and about events. Anything that happens, like if you're standing in a queue and you're literally in the queue for 30 seconds, tell a negative story about that. Be like, this fucking sucks. I shouldn't have to wait 30 seconds. I live in 2024. We should have handled queues by now. Why can't this supermarket get their shit together? These people, they're all pathetic. They're all working minimum wage. I'm better than them. Like, tell negative stories the entire day. See how you feel and see how other people react to you. That's the big one. See how the world responds when you haven't even said anything negative. It's just in your head. You haven't said it to anyone, but pay attention to how the rest of the world responds. Then go out the next day and tell nothing but positive stories, even if you don't believe them, even if you think you're just being some dumb hippie weirdo saying positive stories. Doesn't matter. Go out and say positive stories. And so if you really struggle with that, just add the sentence "and that's okay" to the end of every sentence. So if you're in a queue, you're like, man, this sucks. I don't want to be in this queue. Just go, wait. I'm in a queue and that's okay. I'm having to wait and that's okay. Or everything's going to be okay. Or it's all good. Any of these kind of positive sayings. Go around all day saying positive things about other people and about yourself. Try and be as positive as you can. And then see how you feel at the end of the day, how much action you were able to take on your goals and how other people treated you. So again, don't take our word for any of this. Go fucking try it. Go try telling positive stories. Go try telling negative stories. Like literally everyone I've ever given that to is like, holy fuck, like look how well the world treated me when I was positive in my head and how I treated myself and how much more action I was able to take because I wasn't feeling depressed and angry and bitter and unhappy.
Number 7, practice mindfulness. Engage in mindfulness practices to help you stay present and grounded. Mindfulness can help you observe your thoughts without judgment and reduce self-critical thinking patterns. I feel like this is
like fucking just the most advice ever. Like this doesn't say anything. This is just like clearly written by an AI or some guy in a content farm who's paid like 10 cents per article. So like anyone else would read this and be like, mindfulness, what does that mean? You've told me to be mindful. What does that even mean? So do we want to give some actual advice here?
is try and notice as many thoughts that pop into your head as possible.
Yeah.
And you can just practice it because obviously that gets hard to do and eventually you tune out and then you just start thinking your thoughts and going about your day. But even if you intentionally walk around for 5 minutes and try and notice every single time a thought comes up, that's essentially what a lot of meditation is. It's just like
noticing your thoughts
and being aware of your thoughts. But when you actually start being the observer of your thoughts, rather than just believing every thought that pops into your head. When you create that separation and that detachment, there is a piece to that. Because as soon as you're not pulled by those thoughts and attached to those thoughts, a lot of them don't carry weight anymore. They don't make you feel
you
a certain way.
don't care about them. You just hear a negative thought in your head and you're like, whatever, there's a negative thought. I don't have to believe it.
Especially if you're seeing that thought as something that's separate from yourself, because we can't control the thoughts that we have. They will pop into our head, and sometimes you have like insane impulses or thoughts that come in. You're like, oh God, where did that come from? If you start perceiving them as something separate from yourself and something that your higher self or your true self can observe, then those thoughts have far less sway on you. So especially when you notice the self-critical thoughts coming up, the ones that are judging yourself, you can almost then observe that and be like, isn't that interesting? Isn't that interesting that my mind is going about or playing out those old patterns and saying all of those things? Like, you don't have to then believe them because you can understand that you are separate from those thoughts.
Yeah, and meditation can help. A lot of people misunderstand meditation and go, I got to sit there with my legs crossed and empty my mind. No, you don't have to empty your mind. Just sit somewhere or go for a walk for 3 minutes and just notice your thoughts. And if it helps, you can write them down. Like having a thought journal can help. What you can also do is keep a little tally. This is a fun little thing. Have a little book with you or do it on your phone. And whenever you remember throughout the day, just ask yourself, like you can set a reminder in your phone to go off like 10 times a day. And when it goes off, ask yourself the question, what am I thinking right now? Like what thought was I just thinking, or like what's in my head? And you can kind of ask yourself, if you want to, like almost keep a tally of like how many of them were like loving, positive thoughts towards myself or other people. How many of them were maybe less loving or less kind towards other people or myself? And you don't have to judge yourself for that. A lot of people do this exercise and go, oh my fucking God, I had 100 negative thoughts in a day and only one positive one. Oh my God. Oh, what's wrong with me? It's like, no, it's okay. That's called being a human. That's most people. But it can at least get you to start being self-aware of like, maybe I could improve this a little bit. You know, maybe 100 negative thoughts a day. Could I get that to, at first you'll have the same number of negative thoughts, but like if I'm going to have 100 negative thoughts, could I try and just have 5 positive thoughts? I'll just say an extra 5 positive thoughts. And it's okay that I have 100 negative thoughts. I don't have to get rid of them. Again, it's not about getting rid of your negative thoughts. It's about just noticing them and not taking them as seriously. You're not going to just delete them from your brain. Like, how do you stop yourself thinking? Right now, try this. Try pausing the video and try stopping yourself from thinking. Like, literally say to your mind, stop thinking, stop thinking, stop. And it's like, you can't. You can't stop your thoughts. That goes to show you that your thoughts aren't personal. You're not in control of them. If you can't even stop them, you're not in control of them. And so all we're really doing here is noticing the negative thoughts and go, oh, isn't that interesting? I wonder where that thought came from. I wonder if that came from my childhood. I wonder if that came out of like guilt or shame, or I wonder if somebody else put that thought in my head. Like, I wonder where that thought came from. What do I want to do about that thought? You know what? I'm not going to take that thought seriously. I don't have to believe that thought. Or you might notice a thought and go, okay, I've had this thought. What do I want to do about it? Yeah, you know what? I think I would like to take some action. I think maybe this supposed negative thought is actually quite a helpful thought. Yeah, maybe I could have phrased it, or it could have been phrased a little more kindly in my head, but I didn't choose to have a negative thought. Like, none of you listening chose to have negative thoughts. They're not your thoughts. Like, you didn't choose to have them. And so we're just noticing the negative thoughts, but what you are in control of is then intentionally saying a positive thought. That's all cognitive behavior therapy is. That's what any psychologist or therapist will get you to do. If you have a very strong, like, negative thought process, they will literally give you cognitive behavior therapy. It's like literally what every therapist does. And they'll say, okay, every time you have a negative thought, or as often as you can, when you remember that you've had a negative thought, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up. Just say a positive one. And then you go, oh, will that really work? It's like, yeah, if you practice it, this is all I did to overcome my depression and my suicidal, thoughts. Literally, that's all I did. I talk about it in my depression article. I just did cognitive behavior therapy hundreds or thousands of times a day. You don't have to do it that much, but I wanted to rewrite my brain, and I did. So I talk more about like meditation and stuff in my Play to Win video course. And if you're not getting the hint by now, the entire point of the Play to Win video course, as I even say, is how I built a winner's mindset. It's literally how I learned to be more positive and have a positive brain.
So number 8 is surround yourself with supportive people. Surround yourself with supportive and positive individuals who uplift and encourage you. Seek the company of those who appreciate you for who you are and provide constructive feedback when needed. And this is definitely something that we've spoken about in quite a few videos, I think, about making friends, how to make friends, and maybe how to cut people out of your life. Because I think a lot of adults get into the mindset of like, I have my friends and they're my friends, and that's that. Like, I'm kind of stuck with them. Like, I find that a lot of people that I meet, if they're not super sociable, they fall into habits of just, I've had these friends for forever
Yeah.
and they have to be my friends. And the idea of going out and making new friends is actually quite daunting. It's like, how would I do that? I don't even know how to go about doing that. I kind of fell into this situation. And if you do feel like you fell into your friendships, it can often be a little bit disempowering. And then you're not sure, or you're not certain of the fact that you can actually go out there and make new friends. And, if you've known people since childhood, you've probably grown and evolved, and it's not unlikely that other people might not align with how you've grown yourself.
Yeah.
And so you are allowed to cut people out of your life, or even if you want to do the flip side of that, you're allowed to add in more encouraging, supportive people into your life. You can go and seek that out and make new friends. So some of the ways to meet new people is to go to social groups. Obviously, it can be easy if you change workplaces or move to a new city, or just go out and do activities. And naturally, especially in like group environments, if you're doing group activities, meetup.com is a really good one
Yeah.
to find things in your area. I know there's tons of like Facebook groups and things like that. Just find new things to do with more people in them. And it's natural that you will meet new people, and then you can be choosy about who you choose to spend your time with.
Yeah. And those can be online friends too. So you can go onto forums and stuff and just surround yourself by people that are working on the same goal as you. I would try and find people that are further ahead than you. So if you're like depressed or something, I wouldn't go to a depression subreddit. I would go to a group of people who have overcome depression. Or if you're wanting to go out and meet women and have sex and relationships, I wouldn't go to like r/incel. Nothing wrong with incels, but like they're probably not going to be the people to lift you up. So seek the company of those who are a little bit further ahead than you and are happy to guide you and help you. And honestly, like the best place to find that, my freaking coaching group. I say this all the time, guys. Like you're not going to find a more positive, uplifting, loving, and welcoming set of people than the people that I screen for in my coaching program. So there's a link in the description below to that. Like literally, those are going to be the best we hear this all the time in the coaching group. They're like, these are above and beyond the best people that I've ever met in my entire life. And people do little meetups as part of our coaching group, and they'll all fly from across the country or other countries to all meet in one location and just hang out for a week. And we have people in the coaching program who've moved in together and lived together because they're like, I've never in my life met anyone who was on the same wavelength as me to this degree, or this hardcore serious about themselves and their happiness and improving the lives of other people. So that solves your problem immediately. And obviously, I would then help you and the other coaches with having a positive mindset. So you pay to play or pay to win, baby. Just like freaking pay money and solve this problem immediately.
And I think the other thing too that gets said a lot is like you are the product of the 5 people that you spend the most
Hell yeah.
time with. And so it's worth considering like, are those positive, supportive people, especially again, circling back to like the idea of being self critical and working on that. If the people around you are judgmental or critical or not supportive, or they question the things that you're excited or passionate about, it's going to be 1,000 times harder to then give yourself love if it feels like the people around you aren't able to give that. And there's so many amazing, loving, beautiful people out there. And you and I, Andy, have made it an absolute mission to make sure that we're only surrounded by people that add to our lives.
Yeah, I don't have anyone in my life that wouldn't add to my life or be positive. I don't have anyone in my coaching program who isn't positive. I don't I'm loving and kind to negative YouTube comments, but I'm certainly not going to give that person like a whole lot of my time. I'll write them a really loving comment, say, hey, are you okay? Sounds like you're in a bad place. Is there anything we can do to help? But if they then reply to that with more negativity, I just mute them and block them so none of us ever see that comment again. Like I have built my life in a way, so have you, that we only have positive people. Like no exceptions. We would never sleep with or date someone who was negative. Like only positive people.
So the 9th suggestion given by ChatGPT is set realistic expectations, avoid setting overly high and unrealistic expectations for yourself. Break down your goals into smaller, manageable steps, celebrate progress along the way, and recognize that perfection is not attainable. And as we were reading this off camera a second ago, you said that you don't love that one.
Yeah, I'd slightly rephrase. I think there's some good shit in here. I think this can give people the wrong impression though, where it's like you got to set realistic standards. Don't set high and unrealistic expectations for yourself. You're not going to know if something was unrealistic or too high until you actually try it. So my advice is set high, big, beautiful goals for yourself. Dream big, like aim for the moon, baby. But then do exactly what it said here. Break those goals into tiny little baby steps, like really small baby steps. So if you say, my goal is to make $10 million. I have someone in my coaching program who's like, I want to make $10 million. You could say like, bro, that's overly high and unrealistic. And then what? I talk him out of his goals? No. So I say $10 million, beautiful. I don't know how long that's going to take. I haven't made $10 million. I don't know how long it will take, but let's break it down into baby steps. Let's make you your first $1. And then he made $1. Great. Let's make $1,000. He's made $1,000 already. Let's make 5,000. He's made $5,000. Did I tell you that?
No, you didn't.
You know who I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's made like $5,000 now. Yeah.
That's
He's done
amazing.
in like freaking 8 weeks or something.
That's
He's
incredible.
insane. He's done a lot. Anyway, like let's break it down into baby steps and then figure out how to get to the next level, overcome the next hurdle, like learn the next lesson that we have to learn together or that you have to learn, yourself. And so I'm a big fan of setting overly high and unrealistic expectations for yourself. In fact, I did a video series called I Broke All the Rules and It Made Me a Success. Like half of what I've done was I thought unrealistic and overly high. But I intentionally had that goal because I was like, no, I don't want to talk myself out of my goals and have limiting beliefs. So yeah, I would take out this bit here and I would say dream big, dream as big as you want, but then break it down into manageable baby steps. I think what this is trying to say is like a lot of people will set a goal that's really big, Like, I want to lose 100 pounds. Amazing, brilliant, beautiful goal. But then they'll go, I'm not successful until I've done my 100 pounds.
Mm.
And every moment that I haven't lost 100 pounds means I'm a failure. And if I ever have a week where I slightly gain a little bit of weight or I don't lose much, I'm going to fall off the wagon. I'm going to be depressed. I'm going to beat myself up. I'm going to be angry.
Mm.
It's like, in that case, yes, break it down into baby steps. So, yeah, I'm a big fan of big goals, but break them down. I love what this says, celebrate progress along the way. I love this bit too. Perfection is not attainable.
Mm.
Like, it's more like focus on the progress, not the perfection.
Yeah. And when you're working on, especially on a big goal that's going to take a really long time, not every single day is going to be a massive success. And it's pretty standard that you will have some days where it feels like you're going backwards a
Yeah.
little bit. But that's all part of the journey, especially with something like very simple, like weight loss. It's never linear. You don't lose weight every single day without fail and then just get to your goal. Like, you're going to have days where your weight goes up and down. But the trend over time is that it goes down as long as you keep working on it. And I think if you fixate on the mistakes and say that this isn't working and you feel like you failed, it's going to be really demotivating. It's going to mean that you don't want to keep working towards your goal. So I think understanding, and I guess that's where the idea of realistic expectations can help. It's like understanding that it's not, it might not always be smooth sailing. It could be, and that would be beautiful, but it's normal to have setbacks, and that is totally okay.
Yeah, even then, I just don't like the idea of realistic expectations. Nobody knows what's fucking possible. So I've done so much podcasts on this where people will have a paradigm forever and they'll be like, this isn't possible. No one can do this. Like, at some point, everyone was like, we can't go to space. At some point, we all thought the Earth was fucking the center of the universe and the sun revolved around the Earth, the heliocentric model of the universe. Like, we've just had, as a society, as a species, so many limiting beliefs that are literally just not true. The human brain is not very good at telling what is true and what is false. Like, we're just not very good at it. We can't do it. And so we have limiting beliefs. So I'm never going to tell you guys and girls to, like, be realistic. What I would say is ask people who've already done the thing that you're doing. Like, learn from people who've already achieved the thing that you're doing, and then see if you can do what they've done. See if you can do it a little bit faster than them, a little bit better than them. See if you can avoid the pitfalls that they went through. So that's maybe the only thing I would say about realistic expectations is just go and look at what other people who have proof, by the way, not people who just say, I just said to you that the human brain is not very good at telling truth from falsehood. And so people will often on the internet and in books be like, I've done that. And you're like, where's your proof? And it's like, trust me, bro. Like, that's just so fucking common. Very few people have like pictures of their penis entering a vagina on the internet for sex and dating advice. Very few people show you a screenshot of their bank account when they're giving business advice. So learn from people who show proof and take everything that they say with a grain of salt and see if there's ways that you can do what they've done, maybe a little quicker, maybe a little better, or just copy what they've done. So yeah. But overall, not bad advice on that one.
Mm.
Last one.
The very last one is seek professional help if needed. If self-criticism becomes overwhelming and affects your well-being, consider seeking support from a therapist or counselor. They can provide guidance and help you develop healthy coping strategies.
Yeah, absolutely. I obviously offer coaching. I will show it again for the 10 billionth time. The Play to Win video course is literally about how to build a positive mindset. Like, literally, that's the entire point of that video course. You can go to therapy, you can go to counselors, join my coaching program, read books like You Can't Afford the Luxury of a Negative Thought. Like, there's all these different resources. You can read my depression guide, killyourinalloser.com/depression, or just search this YouTube channel. I made it an audiobook. It's like a 3-hour long audiobook of my history with depression, how I overcame it, how I learned to build a positive mindset. That's called How I Overcame Depression and Learned to Be an Optimist. Like, literally how I programmed my brain to be optimistic and positive. So you can absolutely do it. I would freaking love to help any of you with this. This is basically 100% of what we do in the coaching program. Like, people come to us thinking, oh, I'm going to get laid. I'm going to start a business and make money. It's like, yeah, but that's not why you're coming. You're coming because you want to have a winner's mindset. You want to have a positive mindset. You want to be happier. You want to be mentally healthy. You want to be resilient. You want to have an abundance mindset and not get bothered by every little external thing that happens in your life. That's the main stuff that we coach people on. So I'll leave a link in the description below to that. We'd love to have you in the program. We have payment plans, blah, blah, blah. You guys know the coaching program works. We've talked about it. And ChatGPT said a little bit at the end, but I reckon we show this actually. What do you reckon?
Mhm. And a nice little note to leave you on from ChatGPT is remember, self compassion is a lifelong practice.
Hmm.
Be patient with yourself and allow yourself to grow and learn from your experiences. Treat yourself with kindness and understanding, and remember that you deserve love and acceptance, including from yourself.
Yeah, that's very similar. I don't know if they stole that from the Buddha. The Buddha said, "You, of all people in the universe, deserve your own love and acceptance." So I don't know if they just stole that from Buddha. Good job, ChatGPT. It's a pretty good quote to steal from Buddha. But yeah, the one thing I'd say with everything that we've just said here today is give yourself permission to suck. Like you might fucking suck
Mm.
with being positive at the start. That's okay. Like that's so unbelievably normal. I wasn't good at it. You definitely weren't. You still sometimes struggle with it. Lots of my clients do. And then you'll have that temptation to beat yourself up and be like, fuck, like what's wrong with me? Why am I being so hard on myself? I should be hard on myself right now for being hard on myself. And then you're like, shit, I'm beating myself up for beating myself up. I should beat myself up for beating myself up and it's like it becomes this cycle.
Mm.
Hit the pause button, take a deep breath. That's okay. That's part of being human. It's okay that you beat yourself up. It's okay that you're not perfectly compassionate. It is something that you can practice and build and improve at over time. Like I said, I'm very happy to help all of you. I have the coaching program. This is the vast majority of the stuff that we work on with people in the coaching program. So I will leave a link to that. I also offer $200 one-time coaching calls if you want to just pick my brain for a few hours and talk about this and give you a bunch of strategies and help you with that. Play to win video course. I will link to that in the description below as well. You can pay whatever you want for that, even if that's just $1. Anything you'd like to shout out to these beautiful men, these beautiful women, and these beautiful. What else we got to cover in 2024?
Just people. So
People.
ultimately,
So men and women are not people, according to you.
well, I'm encompassing men and women in that. So
Yeah.
go out there, be kind to yourself, and have a nice time.
Go have fun, fellow humans.